This is geoforecaster Andrew Fleck. It's about Saturday afternoon, and I wanted to sit down and do a very short, brief video on obviously the pattern that we just kind of stepped out of, and we're going to be stepping back into by later next week. This has been the typical pattern where it's either one or the other. You either have a very hot and humid air, or you have that rain. And the eastern United States took on that rain earlier of last week, and now through this weekend, it's just going to be plain hot. And that's really what we say when we talk about either one or the other. That is the pattern we are in. This is due to a high pressure that's been off the Atlantic. As the high pressure moves further and closer to the shoreline, it pushes a lot of that rain further inland. We're talking about the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, the eastern United States, the coastlines. You guys dry out. Now, when that happens, you get the heat. When that high pressure is further northeast or further east off the shoreline, that's when that rain from the Gulf and the Atlantic could then pierce into the coastlines, and that's where that heavy rain was once stalking the coast, and that's why flood watches were out early last week. But there is this new pattern that we are in, and that's going to feature a more hot and humid air for the eastern United States. But I want to talk about the future. I want to talk about what we might be expecting come mid next week, late next week, into next weekend, and that being another rainy setup that might bring, again, some flood watches, and if not that, definitely some wet weather. So I'm going to show you here, this is 144 hours. We're looking at 500 millibar height anomalies. So we're looking at the mid-levels of the atmosphere, and we're looking at where some of the lower heights are, so where there would be low pressures, moisture, that indicated in blue, purple, and obviously on the contrary, where the high pressures would be the drying, the warmer air, that would be obviously the lighter colors of green, orange, yellow that you see here. And at this 144 hour frame, we can show you that obviously you have another point of moisture sticking up here out of the Gulf and the Atlantic, and very similar to what we had obviously last week or a week and a half ago, where a lot of that moisture began to pull its way further north into the eastern coastlines, the Tennessee Valley, and that again is something that the pattern and some of these indices are beginning to point out about, and that's something I wanted to bring up here. Obviously, we have a high pressure still in control over the Atlantic, but where this high pressure begins to fluctuate is where some leeway and some moisture may be able to funnel its way further northeast, again, into some of those areas that have already had an above average rainfall of June. So with that, I want to not only show you guys that there is obviously a point of moisture in lower heights beginning to show an example their ways into the region, but I'm going to show you also an example off the European model, the 500 millibar heights, and how all this plays out, and why it's still something to watch out for, whether it's a lot of rain or a little rain. So I'm going to go and show you that next image here, and we'll just kind of go and we'll loop through each frame from this weekend into mid to next week. So let's go ahead and do that. So now we can show you not only those height anomalies of what we've shown of the darker colors and the warmer colors, but now we can actually add in those isobars and really show you why perhaps it is indicating some more moisture and a pattern looking more ripe for more rain in the eastern United States. The imagery that we're looking at here is of 36 hours. That's about through here Saturday on Sunday. And what the model is indicating is we have obviously still that upper level low pressure that's continuously giving rain for the Tennessee Valley and Ohio Valley, just positioning over there. And here's our high pressure obviously off the Atlantic, and that's been the reason why. And again, as I've said, the further west that goes, the further close to the coast it goes, the further west it also pushes the rain, and instead the eastern United States gets the other half, and that being the warmer weather. That's going to upkeep throughout the weekend and early next week. And what eventually will happen is as this pushes further southwest, this upper level low that was giving all those flood watches and all of that pinwheeling moisture into the region, the upper hand to be able to then track northeastward, give the eastern United States some rain, but not overly the top of flooding or any of those major precautions we would have to take, but it will begin to weten things once again. And I will just frame that for you here. So obviously we see this upper level low now starting to move into the Ohio Valley, into Pennsylvania, and again that high pressure is beginning to fluctuate weaker a little bit, allowing that to finally move into the region. And as that moves out of the region, we finally can experience a nice couple of days by mid next week of free from rain. But obviously, we can't get that in. We can't get there until obviously this upper level low moves in and out of our area. Now, once that does so, okay, you see obviously this upper level low begins to get carried back into the upper jet stream. That one there is gone. You can check it off the list. The next thing that we need to worry about here is what some models are indicating of a tropical wave across the Caribbean. That's going to be positioned down here. Now, there's going to be another trough that begins to come down through into the central to eastern United States by late next week. Now, what this would do, or what this is suggested to do, is to perhaps meet this tropical wave if the trough is deep enough, and obviously create another bit of steady to heavy rain for the eastern United States. Now, at this point and at this frame, there's obviously a tropical wave down there in the Caribbean. The trough has not yet established itself. This is why still, again, this would be for Tuesday, by late week is when we're really watching our eye on this. So as we continue the frame, we can notice that the trough begins to dig a little deeper. The wave begins to dissipate, but still is shown there, and still shown there. But as the trough begins to pull and pull further southward, this is now where we're talking about next Thursday, it's much more pronounced, and we have a wave still in here. Whether it's a wave or whether it's a bulk of tropical moisture, you do have your high out here, and we know the pattern and how this all works. If the trough digs deep enough, it will capture and catch this moisture from the Gulf and Atlantic, and that would lead end more rain for the East Coast. So right now, obviously, am I saying there's going to be another bit of a flooding warrant of watching for those across rivers, streams, and the eastern United States? No, but I do want to always point out the patterns that I see and what do need close watching within the next week. So that's where I'm coming from here. There's no reasons to alert anybody for yet, but it's good that I can be able to sit here and at least let you know that if there was some sort of flooding, if there was some sort of indice of that occurring, whether it looks likely or not, I would sit here and I would at least let you guys know that. So as for right now, as I've said, it only shows a pattern that is very closely resembling something of perhaps the last 7 to 10 days. Does it look a lock-in? No, it does not. But if the pattern's there, it's something I have to mention. So to further on the end of this modeling frame, I will continue to click, and you will see here, this is why I am very antsy, and still I am able to bring your attention to exactly why I think this by late next week could be perhaps a very wet one, is you do have your upper level low up here, and you do have a connection of moisture, okay, from now the Atlantic and the Gulf. And this obviously is pattern where the trough going from the southwest to then the northeast, all of this connects and it would create some more rain. Again, as I've said before, I can't pinpoint and say how much rain. I can only look at the pattern overall and say if everything lines up perfectly, it would do so. It would create a lot of rain. But as of right now, I'm letting you guys know that the pattern would be right for more rain by late next week, and it would be something to watch. Obviously, we have a tropical wave in the Caribbean. Obviously, we have an oncoming trough. If those two really begin to knack each other, then that would be able to create some type of wetness in the eastern United States. So as for right now, I hope you guys have understood where I'm coming from with this video and what I hope to do in ongoing videos when rainfall at heavy at times is possible in the near future. Thank you for watching. Continue to follow us at Geo-Environmental Atmosphere or our website at geoea.org. Take care and have a good rest of your weekend.